Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for the 2021-22 season for the final time. My name is Dan and I thought we would do one last video about the 2021-22 season just to review my final game week, game week 38, and have a look at my season as a whole and just kind of review it, I guess. I'm sure there's not too many people watching FPL content right now, but those of you guys who are watching this video, thank you so much for sticking with me. Thank you so much for following my content throughout this year. It's been a phenomenal year for me in so many ways. FPL rank, you know, getting married, and obviously getting so many subscribers and views on my videos. It's just been a phenomenal journey. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for you guys for joining me on this journey. It really has been an incredible one. Guys, if you enjoy this video, please do leave a like, please do subscribe. Let's have a look at how I got on in the end in game week 38. We've got some balloons to celebrate, I suppose. A fantastic season. We're there. We're at the end. We're at the end of the season finally. Alright, so let's start off by having a look at my game week 38 scores. I got 81 points, took a -4. We went up ranks a little bit. It was a green arrow in the final game week. It wasn't quite the top 100 finish, but I tell you what, to finish you know, in the top 250 is just incredible. 243rd in the world out of over 9 million players. It really is just a phenomenal achievement that I'm so happy with looking back. Obviously, there was a few tough game weeks in the end, but we're going to go through some of my game week history, I guess, later on in the video and kind of just see that actually it's, you know, I should be very pleased in so many ways for this season. So definitely no complaints from me anymore. I'm not upset about, you know, game weeks in the past. I'm just so happy to look back at a phenomenal season. I'm so lucky to have had. There's been a lot of luck on the way. There's been a lot of spice along the way. But yeah, this is how I got on. So obviously we got Robertson with the goal, and that was a nice little bonus there. Son captain seemed to be the one that paid off in the end. It was kind of so obvious that Son was going to be one of the top scoring players of the game week against Norwich, so that's why we captained him. And he could have even got a bit more. Mason Mount was a little bit of a letdown, I suppose, in that game, but we got some other points. We got Zaha scoring against Manchester United. Saka got the assist. He should have taken the penalty as well. I was actually at that game, so it would have been really nice to see Saka take the penalty, but Martinelli was the one who took that one in the end. It could have been a mega haul for Saka if not. Kulusevski could have had more points as well, but 16 points, definitely not complaining about that one. Harry Kane and Tony were the two players I brought in for a -4 for game week 38. Kane worked out, Tony not so much, but still very happy with the Kane return there. And on the bench we had Schmeichel with 2 points, so no difference for Ramsdale there. Burn with 2 points, and Matty Cash somehow scored against Manchester City and got a nice 7-pointer, so we'll absolutely take well, we won't take that one, but I mean, you know, it's points, right? I don't get the points, but it's points on the bench. Yeah, well, it's a consolidation prize, I suppose, for sticking with Matty Cash. It's a shame he couldn't have got any of those goals in the game weeks that I actually played him, but again, not complaining because it was a decent score in the end for game week 38, and one I'm not depressed about at all. Like, you know, like 81 points -4. We'll absolutely take that for the final day. I had hoped to maybe see if I could push into the top 100. It wasn't to happen, but you know, the top 1,000 was a target for me at one point, and we definitely smashed that target out the water. So super pleased. Let's go through my game week history and just see how the whole season kind of unfolded for me. Alright, so I've had to break this game week history into 3 pages because, you know, I want it to be visible on the screen, basically. Otherwise, the text would be so small. So we divided it into 3. So this is game week 1 to game week 12. And as you can see, the season started off really well. The game week 1, I finished with a game week rank of 14,000 without any chips. That's actually a really nice way to start the season. And that was pretty much as low as it got. We've got a few other good game weeks after that in game week 2, 3, and 4. Doing pretty well, staying inside the top 10k. Then in game week 5, I dropped down to 14,462nd. And that was actually somehow, throughout the whole FPL season, my low point. So out of all of the game weeks, all 38 game weeks, which is something I just find so absolutely mad, that was the lowest I was at any given point. And if you asked me at the beginning of the season, do I take 14,462nd at the end of the season, I would have said yes, I would take that rank. I would love to have that rank. So for that rank to be the low point, definitely very pleased with that. Game week 6, 7, started moving up the ranks a little bit. Played the first wild card, you can see there in game week 8. And that, I think, was when things really kicked on. I kind of waited until the right moment. I felt the right moment was game week 8 to play the wildcard. I know a lot of you guys played your first wildcard around there. And I think that was probably the best way of doing things, just because it allowed me to get a good scope of what was going on in the FPL world, which players were in form, what players had I kind of missed out in my initial game week 1 team. Can I bring them in? Can I shuffle things around? Can I bring in a few differentials that maybe other people aren't looking at, such as I think Reece James was in that wildcard 1 team. I think I had Foden in that team as well, who ended up doing quite well in the coming game weeks after that. So that wildcard really boosted me up, and you can see we went straight up to 1,705th, then up to 398th, then up to 84th and 81st in one of a couple of several game weeks where I actually spent inside the top 100. So yeah, really fantastic start to the season over the first 12 game weeks, and it kind of it didn't necessarily all get better from there, but we've managed to maintain it from there. Game week 13, and we're still hovering around the 200 mark. We kind of dropped down to 895th as the kind of low point of this period of the season, but this was a very good period of the season. Managed to jump up to 28th in game week 21, so that was really good. But I kind of felt after that, the few game weeks after that, my team started slipping back a little bit, getting behind the template, getting behind the meta a little bit there, because I picked up a lot of players who weren't really good long-term options. That actually were kind of just wasting away in my team that I really wasn't happy with them in my team. So we played the wildcard 2 in game week 24, and a lot of people were really kind of weren't happy with that. They thought, Dan, why are you playing the wild card so early? You should save your wild card for later on. But I really strongly felt that my team was just kind of in the mud a little bit, and I just needed to do something to really give another boost, give another impetus to my season. But throughout this whole period, we can see that I maintained really well. As soon as I saw that my team was kind of dropping out of the meta a little bit, I did play that second wild card, and although that wild card wasn't perfect, I do think it was the right time to play it still, like looking back. Maybe things could have been different if I waited a little bit longer, but I don't know. I feel like that was still the right call at the time. Into the final part of the season, and this was the time where I played my chip. So triple captain in game week 26. I'm sure a lot of you guys will not forget that famous Mo Salah triple captain week. That is the week I obviously used it. I'm sure it's same with a lot of you guys. Triple captain in 26 just seemed to be the one. It was a really obvious one. Salah playing Norwich and Leeds in that double game week there, if memory serves, and he scored a bunch of goals, which was exactly what we wanted really. We played the first free hit in 28 and the second free hit in 30. I think those two were good times to play those 2 free hits, just because for me personally, those two game weeks, my team just didn't look very good at all for those 2 game weeks. One of them was a double game week in 28, and the other one was a blank game week in 30. And I wasn't well prepared really for either of those game weeks. I'd kind of planned to be unprepared for those game weeks with the kind of idea that I would play the free hits there. Maybe I regretted that a little bit later on in the season when I could have maybe used a free hit, to be honest. But certainly in those 2 weeks, I was pretty happy, and there was green arrows in each of them. Well, in the second one anyway. In the first one, I actually kind of struggled in a way. I had a small red arrow, I believe. It was still a very good score, but the problem is at these high ranks, you have to get a good score every single game week just to maintain your rank, which is what I kind of struggled with a lot, and something I'm wasn't very used to from seasons gone by. I never really expected that being in the top 1,000, you don't just need to have a good score every week. You need to have a great score every week just to maintain your rank. And it's really hard to move up, and it's really easy to move down. So easy to move down because everyone around you is just banging out scores, 20, 30 points above the average every single week. So you really got to keep going with it. But yeah, it wasn't too bad. I took a -12 hit. I think one of the biggest hits I've ever taken since playing FPL. One of the biggest hits I've taken, that -12 in game week 29 as well. And that was to get a load of Arsenal and, well, mostly Spurs players in. It was to triple up on Spurs players. I wanted to bring in, a few Spurs players in there, which is exactly what we did. And I think that paid off because Kulusevski was a big player I brought in there who got me a lot of points over the coming game week. So in the end, that actually was really worth taking that big hit. I got a little red arrow in that game week, but that really served me well in the long term. So definitely something that I can kind of think about. I think that was many ways something to do with, I guess, my second wild card. There was a few players that I picked in my second wild card that actually just weren't the ones. I thought they looked really good for the future when actually, there were rotation risks. They started dropping out. There was an injury or two in there as well, and it just didn't go so well. So I just thought, you know what? I'm just going to take a -12 and try and set myself up for the rest of the season. I don't have a wild card left. A lot of other people do have a wild card left. Can I just take a hit, take an L just for 1 week and see what we can do with it long term. And I do really, I really appreciate the fact that I actually went through it and did that and took that -12. Definitely something to remember. Occasionally, a big hit, if it can really improve your team for the long run, might be worth it just to catch you up to that meta. So that's what we did there. And yeah, a few more green arrows, bench boost in 33, which got me a few points, not a lot of points. I think it got me something like, I think it was 18 points that bench boost got me, which is not the best, but it's not the worst either. I guess we'll take 18 points. And then a few more green arrows, taking us to game week 35, where I got up to 12. That was the high point of the season. After that, it was unfortunately pretty much downhill from there. So, yeah, I think that's partly to do with the fact that I did use my chips, you know, between game week 26 and 33. A lot of people did save a few of those chips for those end of the season, and, you know, fair enough. They caught up with me. I had already made my ground at that point, so I kind of had to just accept that I've already made my ground. If I drop now, that's just the way things go. That's just the way things are. You know, people had kind of 2 chips left by the time I had none left. So I had to expect some red arrows. Maybe I didn't expect quite as much, and maybe I could have done more to maintain, but I'm not going to beat myself up about it too much. Those game weeks 36 and 37 in particular, I felt were really swingy game weeks, and a lot of you guys probably agree. If you had De Bruyne or didn't have De Bruyne, or if you captained De Bruyne or if you didn't captain De Bruyne in 36, that pretty much defined your game week in many ways. And I kind of suffered from not having Chelsea players, Chelsea defenders, Alonso in particular. I kind of suffered as well through not having KDB at times. I suffered from not having Leicester players. And I think that was probably be my biggest regret in the final few game weeks, is to the fact that I didn't take a plunge on Maddison and Vardy, because there were 2 players I really strongly considered going for, but I was a little bit worried about rotation. I didn't expect Leicester to go out so strong with their lineups every week at the end of the season, but they ended up going really strong at the end of the season with their lineups. And that's kind of some you know, lack of foresight from me. I should have seen that coming, and maybe that could have meant that I ended the season a little bit differently. Maybe I could have got the top 100, but again, it's not something I'm going to dwell on too much, because I can't complain. I really can't complain. We finished off the season with a green arrow there, and I have to be super, super pleased with a finish of 243rd, because there's not many people that can say they have a top 250 finish in FPL, particularly these days when there's just so many players playing FPL. There's so much content out there. It's easier than ever to be good at FPL if you're dedicated to the sport, to the spirit, to the vibes, I suppose. So, yeah, that's where we finished up. It was good. I mean, let's have a look at this next graphic, because I think this kind of summarizes how my trajectory kind of was throughout the season. So what I've done here is I've made a graph, basically, from game week 9, because game week 9 was the game week I entered the top 1,000 players for the first time, and after that, you know, we just maintained that throughout the whole rest of the season, which I think is probably the biggest achievement I will take away from this season altogether. I don't want to gas myself up too much here, but this is certainly the thing I'm probably the most proud of, because there's one thing getting into the top 1K, there's one thing getting into the top few hundred players in the world, but maintaining it was just so difficult. And you guys have probably seen some other FPL creators who did get up to the top heights, but really struggled to maintain it throughout this season, because it is actually genuinely super difficult. You have to be constantly ahead of the game. You have to constantly find the differentials before everyone else, and if other people get there before you on different players, then you are instantly so far back, because the players at the top, they're not just good FPL players, they are elite FPL players. And I was kind of, to be honest, out of my depth up there, really was out of my depth, but super happy. You can see that we kind of went up and down. There were some high points of the season. You know, you can see a few of those game weeks I'm in the top 100, and then also there's a few game weeks where I'm dropping outside the top 500 there as well. But most of the season, I've actually spent inside the top 500, which was really incredible. Certainly at the end, it looked like things were going really well. You can see that really big dip at the end where my ranks just go lower and lower. I mean, well, I guess higher and higher. Lower on the graph, but higher in terms of the rankings. And that was kind of my chip season, and my chip season was just very good. Super good green arrows, and then obviously dipping going like higher, well, lower in the ranks, I guess, towards the last few game weeks. So was it a bottle in the end? maybe a bit of a bottle. Maybe I could have done a little bit better, but you know, like I say, it's just phenomenal to just see this game week 9 to game week 38. The entire time spent in the top 1,000, I think, was incredible. And I also calculated the average rank along this period to try and get a sense of, was it a good finish for me or not, considering the position that I was in. And over this period, my average rank across game week 9 to game week 38 was 308th. So that was the average rank across this period. So if you look at it that way, finishing 243rd is probably, you know, it's actually all right. It's actually not bad. That's a good, it's slightly better than maintaining throughout this period. So yeah, I mean, it's phenomenal. It's probably not going to happen ever again in my life, but we'll absolutely take it. And these were the final standings, a season of a lifetime for me, one that I definitely will not be repeating. I will be just so happy just to finish in the top 10,000 next season, to be honest, and just try and get some consistency to my ranks, really. That's the goal here, to prove that I'm not a one season wonder, but definitely not expecting another finish this high, because, you know, this is not common. It really isn't common. You need to play well, you need to do research, but you also need to get a lot of luck on your side. A lot of luck, and I certainly got that. So 243rd in the world, 64th in England, which is quite nice, and 35th out of all of the Arsenal fans in the world as well, which is obviously displayed on the FPL website. The percentile, I was in the top 0.0026%. So we talk a lot about trying to get that top 1% finish. That's, I think, the mark of a good FPL season, I think, in the top 1%. If you guys are in the top 1%, which means kind of if you finish basically in the top 100,000, I think you could give yourself a real pat on the back and say, that was a phenomenal season for me. And if not, that's fine. We can go again next season and see if you can do a little bit better. But top 0.0026, that's something else. That is something else. Total points, 2,737. That is a monster total points. You know, in any other season in FPL history, if you got that many points, you would have actually won FPL, which kind of goes to show how tough this year was with so many players, so much access to information. The competition is fierce, but I guess it was also due to the fact we had so many double game weeks as well, which obviously inflated a lot of the scores there, including my own. So those are my final standings. Those are my final ranks, and a massive, just a massive celebration, I think, really. You can see the balloons behind me actually say congrats. I don't know if you can read that along there. Mrs. FPL Mate kindly bought them for me upon my return home from Game Week 38 Arsenal game. So I was so happy with that, just to have it, just relax and have some celebrations about a fantastic season. One more thing, guys, and this is, I know a lot of you guys are in mini leagues. Everyone has that one mini league they want to win, and this was my mini league. This was my mini league that I just desperately wanted to win. And did I win it? Let's find out. And this is it. This is it. So this is a table of basically all of the main content creators, all of the big content creators in the FPL world. And a lot of these people are people I take a huge inspiration from, people who I've learned so much about FPL from over the last few years. So it's an absolute honor to actually finish above them. I didn't ever expect that. Honestly, all of these people's ranks are phenomenal. It looks like I'm kind of way ahead at the top of the table. That's not the case at all. Like, top 10,000 rank is like an insane, ridiculously good season already. And you can see so many people finish there because, we've got so many talented and phenomenal and creative FPL managers in the FPL community who have all done so well. Honestly, I would take top half of this table at the beginning of the season. All I've wanted to do really is kind of prove myself and compete amongst these guys. So, it really is an absolute honor to be, maybe not solidified, it's one season for God's sake, but to be in the running and to be competing with the names on this page is nothing short of an absolute honor, because, we've got so many legends of the FPL community who have just done so well for so many years, and to be able to say that I can compete on their level now, it's just phenomenal. I mean, let's see what happens next season. Let's see if I can kind of compete with them again, but it really is incredible to kind of compete with some of my absolute FPL idols, to be honest. I don't know if that sounds kind of sad or what, but it was just really important to me to compete. First of all, compete with other content creators and show that I'm worth, I'm worth my value, like just as good as some of these guys. But yeah, that's just my mini league personally that I really wanted to win. I'm sure you guys are kind of competing in your own mini leagues that you kind of really want to win as well for various reasons. So there we go, that is the final video of the 2021-22 season, guys. If you did enjoy what you saw today, please do make sure you like the video. I'm sure not too many of you guys are going to be subscribing at this point, but you know, it is what it is. Over the summer, guys, we have got plans. So there's going to be lots of videos during the off season. Don't worry, I'm not going to leave you guys in the dark. I'm not disappearing. I won't be uploading quite as much as usual, at least until the new game drops for next season, but I still will be making a couple of videos a week. We're going to be doing a lot of collaboration videos. I want to make sure I'm shouting out a lot of other content creators, because you know, there's a lot of smaller content creators that I really think you guys want to check out for next season, and you know, I'm going to make sure I shout some of them out and have some fun conversations just about FPL in general that I think you're going to enjoy, that don't necessarily need to be, you know, within the season. So for example, we can talk about rule changes in FPL, we can talk about what might happen in next season, talk about potential price changes, and to talk about all kinds of just general topics that just work really well for the off season that I think you're going to enjoy. So that is coming up, so do stick around, don't unsubscribe just yet, and then after that we will be back for the 2022-23 season, which is very, very exciting to start the new one. I mean, I'm excited to start the next season already. Guys, I want you to tell me in the comments where you finished in the world. How well did you do? What was your final rank? And did you win your mini leagues? Because this is a big important thing as well. How well did you do? I'd love to hear some stories from you guys to see if we've got any crazy finishes in the FPL Mate community. That would be absolutely amazing. But that is pretty much it from me today. Like I say, there will be more videos coming up very soon, and particularly some collaborative ones I think you're gonna like, so stick around, more to come. FPL Mate ain't done yet, we've got plenty more bigger and better things next season as well. I've got a lot of things I'm working on behind the scenes that you guys are gonna love. But thank you for joining me so far, you know, so far in this journey. I've been doing YouTube on this channel now for 2 years, and it's really just been incredible to hit 100,000 subscribers, to get so many, you know, all of these views every single video. I never thought this would happen this quickly for me, and yeah, it's just thank you so much, guys, for joining me on this journey, for sticking by me. I really just hope you can stick by me through next season as well, and we'll see if we can do even better stuff. Let's see. But there we go, guys. For the last time in the 2021-22 season, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later, mates. Bye-bye.